The pilot episode, which aired on October 29, 1983, was directed by George Romero and was a mini Halloween party called Trick or Treat. It's about an old man named Gideon Hackles, played by Barnard Hughes, who runs pretty much everything in town with his business. Everyone is poor and owes Hackles a lot of money. He demands money for everything he gives, because there is no such thing as free. Every Halloween, Hackles would hide a pile of promissory notes from neighbors in the house and force parents to send their kids to look for them and, if found, to pass them on to the family of the kids who found them. Unfortunately for the kids, Hackles has put a lot of work into his haunted house, and the kids almost never get the chance. Maybe Hackles needed a lesson from someone stronger and scarier than he was. Maybe this Halloween night will be a little different for Hackles. The synopsis is as follows. Town's stingy Gideon Hackles spends Halloween hiding IOUs in his house. Then he disguises himself as haunted and invites local kids to find the IOUs so he scares them off. This year, he gets his reward. Episode preview. A clumsy, stingy old man named Gideon Hackles, Barnard Hughes, maintains his huge fortune by making the people of a rural town indebted to him forever. Every Halloween, Tales of the Darkside, Gideon gives scammers the chance to find and retrieve their parents' identity cards. But with a twist. To escape Gideon's evil game, the town's kids must journey through the lavishly decorated House of Terror, where the bills of debt are hidden. This year, however, the sadistic Scrooge finds himself not the only one who enjoys playing pranks on others. An atmospheric pilot, Trick or Treat, demonstrates that George A. In rare cases, Romero's creative genius can extend beyond his contributions to the zombie genre. Though marred by a pointless ending, this episode balances dark humor and scary situations in a way that Tales from the Darkside fans will enjoy. Episode pros and cons. While the tough old man in Halloween Candy, Season 2 despises the theme party for interfering with his desire to be alone, Gideon seems to enjoy Halloween because stories about the dark side give him an excuse to torment sensitive youths with his gruesome creations. Despite his cruel and abusive tendencies, Gideon manages to be a madly comic character thanks to the light-hearted style that Barnard Hughes presents. Also commendable, the interior of Gideon's haunted mansion features plenty of gruesome animation equipment along with eerie sound effects, creating a suitable tone to complement the supernatural elements contained in Romero's climax. On that note, a spooky ending is made even more dramatic by a series of remarkably detailed makeup effects that lend credence to a bizarre and inexplicable ending. It should be noted that Gideon's fate will satisfy audiences with a compelling sense of justice. That being said, Trick or Treat offers no valid reason as to why witches and demons actually decided to turn the tables on Gideon after another round of Halloween antics. If supernatural entities are still present in Gideon's house, an earlier clue should be included to point out as much as possible. Pilot brief analysis. Trick or Treat provides a unique twist if amnesia for Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, specifically by placing Gideon in a holiday-oriented situation that forces him to confront his selfish and downright mean behavior. However, instead of redeeming himself by sharing his fortune with the townspeople, Gideon proves himself to be a true villain even in the face of eternal torture. Although the twist of the end in this case seems to emerge out of nowhere, Gideon's fate still allows for an unpredictable diversion from the subject that likely inspired him by abandoning the theme of repentance in favor of punishment, but never to the detriment of the moral lesson Romero intended. Now for the review. Trick or Treat, a very fitting title for a horror series, if you asked me, is a first look at the horror genre that Tales from the Darkside will effectively portray. Right off the bat, he's more into ghostly creatures and vampires than the atmosphere, and that's by no means all that bad. Really, nothing should be taken from this episode, other than a few goofy scares and a well-deserved life lesson. Written by horror master Romero, Trick or Treat follows wealthy old man Gideon Hackles at his favorite time of year, Halloween. For a long time, he offered money to several townsfolk, leaving him with a pile of IOUs. See, Hackles is pretty evil, and what he did on Halloween night pretty much proves it. The man likes to see fear in people's eyes, and one way to do that is to invite the kids of heavily indebted parents to visit his home. Somewhere Hackles has stashed the IOU, and whichever child finds it, their parents won't be in debt. It's not fully explained how long this has been going on, but it's been going on for a long time. Barnard Hughes, better known as Grandpa in the 80s horror classic The Lost Boys, is both funny and despicable, a combination that suits him quite well. I couldn't help but love his presence, despite his downright ruthless personality. His idea of this hunt gives him immense pleasure, which can enhance the reality why. All we know is that he was a miserable old man, but he never admitted to hurting anybody. He only hurts them specifically through fear. When anxious kids said, "Give me candy or get teased," at the Hackles' doorstep, their parents watched them, urging them on. Now a detailed explanation of the plot of the episode. Mr. Bundle, and Gideon Hackles are sitting around the accounting table. As they worked out the numbers, the three men talked about Hackles' business activities. They say he can hire a salesman because he has enough money to pay. He insists that he can buy a lot of things, but he doesn't need to. One of the men asked Mr. Hackles if he could have another cup of coffee. Hackles informed him that it would be a fee of $400. At first, the man seemed surprised. He said that 4 cents covers his expenses plus 20% of the cost of his profits. He insists he doesn't cheat anyone, but at the same time, he expects everyone who owes him to always pay him every penny. Hackles gives his accountant a huge pile of IOUs, and they find that everyone in town is in debt to him. When Hackles showed a customer his large pile of bills, he demanded 4 cents from the man to whom he gave the coffee. He insists he needs every penny. When the man offered to reduce the fee by 4 cents, Hackles began to panic and scream. Behind him, a demon was entering the room. At first, the three men panicked, but then Hackles started laughing and turned on the lights, revealing that his actions were just a joke. Hackles tells her guests that Halloween is her favorite day. He likes to scare people. Next, we see Hackles in his store when one of his customers walks in with his son. A local farmer, Atticus Kimball, and his son Billy entered the store. The farmer's main goal is to pay the monthly bill and inform Hackles that he and Billy won't be coming to his house for Halloween. Hackles says he appreciates the quick payment because Kimball's farm is held as collateral. Billy seemed annoyed that his dad did this because he wanted to go. Hackles explains to Billy that his father and most of the town are in debt to him. However, on Halloween, he hides all the IOUs in his house. The kids of those in debt Hackles were invited to prank or entertain at his house. If they find an IOU, Hackles will write off the debt for them. Billy kept insisting to his father that he could find the IOU. However, Atticus says no one has ever found IOUs and he suspects they exist. Hackles tells Billy he should come anyway because no one was hurt. He also insisted on asking Bill to come and tell him that if he let go of his emotions and only cared about money, Billy would find the IOU. When Kimball still insisted that Billy wouldn't come to Hackles, Hackles threatened to increase their monthly bill. Kimball tells him that he would rather let Hackles take over the farm than let his son suffer. The next man introduced himself and charged a costume accessory fee to his account. The man claims his son Timothy will beat Hackles at his game and the family will be debt-free by morning. Hackles is at home, and he actually hid the IOU in a conspicuous place, a shelf by the door. A woman and her daughter Bessie appear and the mother insists that Bessie find the IOU. When Bessie walks in, she starts looking for the IOU with Hackles telling her when she boots. However, Hackles' cartoon monsters frighten Bessie and she runs out of the house with her mother, failing her mission. At home, Billy takes care of his parents. He convinced himself that he could find the IOU and he decided to go see Hackles. After a few other kids got scared by a cartoon bat, Timothy and his dad showed up at home. The boy immediately looked scared. Hackles sees the boy, identifies him as Timmy, and says he hopes the boy will show up. The door opened and his father told Timmy not to come back without the IOU. Timmy is clearly afraid of the mechanical monsters in Hackles' house. He always tells himself that souls don't exist. The first time he was scared, he wanted to run to his father, but the old man encouraged him to find the IOU. Timmy continues to tell himself that spirits don't exist, before eventually becoming very frightened and rushing into his father's arms. The man who had previously begged his son to find the IOU welcomed his son and they left. Hackles watched Timmy and his father leave. Given that the father and son care about each other more than the IOU, he asserts that everyone in town is upside down. Meanwhile, there was another person at the door. Looks like an old witch is there to ask for tricks or treats. Hackles looked and thought he saw an adult in a witch's costume. He informed her that there were no adult dishes. The witch entered the Hackles house and began giggling around the house. She started flying IOUs around the house when Hackles kept repeating, "No, no, my money." Another creature opened the safe and stole his money. At this time, Billy went to the Hackles house. The witch meets him at the door, but Billy assumes it's Hackles and he insists he's not scared. Laughing, the witch gave him the IOU and the money. The witch flies away. Billy turned around and left the house on his way home. The camera shows Billy walking past the grave marked Gideon Hackles,